All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to a live episode of the House of Bricks podcast. As you know, we teach people to use life's experiences like bricks. You can either carry them with you or lay them down and build a strong foundation and use every obstacle for a stepping stone. And today, I am here with Rick Macci, and I'm sure all of you know him, but he's going to introduce himself, talk a little bit about his background, how he got into tennis, and we'll just dive right in. So, Rick, welcome to the House of Bricks podcast.
No, I'm glad to be here. We're at the Rick Macci Tennis Center in Boca Raton, Florida. This place is like Disneyland and Candyland. I turned it into the #1 public park in the United States. About 85 tournaments a year. You can rent a court, believe it or not, for $5. And on the next court might be Coco Golf playing, or the next person who's going to make it big in pro tennis. So there's something for everybody, but South County Regional Park, Boca Raton, Florida. If anybody wants to ever meet me, I'm on court 1, 7 days a week.
And is a lesson included in that $5?
I'll give him a tip. I'll throw something at him.
Okay, I appreciate that. So the House of Bricks, so we've built a community of best-in-class people. Our podcast has featured NBA athletes, Super Bowl champions, and one thing I always tell people is the importance of coaching. So why would a tennis player or a basketball player like Michael Jordan need a coach?
Well, first off, great question. Everybody needs a different set of eyes. And I tell everybody what you may see is different than Rick may see. So everybody needs a different set of eyes, and everything in life is in the eye of the beholder. That gets more specific, how you say it, why you say it, who to say it to, what age, what level. So, but everybody needs motivation. Everybody needs a push, and a little more belief. And because I work with a lot of youth, especially like 16 and under, even though I work with about 30 girls on the pro tour also, one word can change someone's life, and a lot of the kids might listen to me more than their parents, because it's just a different vibe, and plus with the pedigree of Venus, Serena, Capriati, Roddick, Moschina, Pierce, Kennan, all the people I've coached and national champions, it just empowers them, and you can have such an impact on people's lives. So everybody needs a coach, and a lot of times people hear, but they don't listen, and I just keep going till I make it work, and I don't just change a stroke, I change someone's life.
So I'm going to make you tell the story about the Williams sisters. I know you've told it 1,000 times. I've watched King Richard with my boys. So I have 4 boys that all play hockey, but equally as time-consuming as tennis. So just give us a little brief story on the Williams sisters for the 1,000th time, just for our audience, because it is such a great story.
Nah, it's like, and that's another thing. The movie, it was spot on. The only thing, because people ask me that all the time, was it really true? The only thing that was different, like John Bernthal had this bushy mustache, and I had a little piece of AstroTurf. It took me like 30 years to grow, but other than the mustache, it was crazy. Will Smith was better than Richard. I knew he was going to get an Oscar. I right when I saw it, I was blown away. I talked to John before the movie, and so I kind of had an idea, but I didn't know how accurate it was going to be. But to back that truck up, I get a phone call in 1991. I had Jennifer Capriati before that. She was already on the pro tour, top 10 in the world at 14 years old. So Richard Williams called me and said, I'd like you to come out to Compton. I have 2 girls or whatever. I've heard that story many times. And the funniest thing is he goes, hey, Rick, I won't get you shot. It was so funny. And that was actually in the movie, that line. And I just said, it's May, it's slow, I'm curious. Venus was actually in the New York Times like 5 months earlier. African-American, 10 and under, kicking butt, And so I just don't know why I did it. I haven't done it since, okay? I never went to see anybody. They either came to me, to the academy, or I saw them at a junior tournament. How crazy is that? So the best vacation I ever took, looking back, Compton, California. Not a lot of people could say that.
Right.
So I go out there at LAX, and I meet Richard and Venus, Serena, and Orsine. It's just like yesterday. Venus on that leg, Serena on that leg, hugging, kissing, just like you saw in the movie. He pulls out a piece of paper. I thought I was in a deposition. I go, oh no, not one of these. So but I respected it because if he was going to let someone in their circle, he wanted a father figure and a role model besides someone that could deliver the goods, okay? So the next day, he goes, we're going to go practice at East Compton Hills Country Club. So they picked me up at 7 o'clock. That's exact same bus you saw in the movie. I get in there. I sit down. I get harpooned in the buttock. There was a spring sticking up.
That was real? I remember seeing that.
No, it was crazy. It was crazy stuff. And I'm going, what in God's name am I doing in Compton, California? You know, I was at Greenleaf Golf and Tennis Resort, 5-star resort, director of tennis, filet mignon. Now I'm at the hamburger shop, you know, and I look in the back and there's Venus and Serena, dirty clothes, McDonald's wrappers, the place, it was crazy. So we go, and about 15 minutes into the ride, I'll get to the tennis part here, and I go, this is a strange place for a country club. We pull up to a park. Listen to this. This is crazy. We get out, people smoking, drinking, 7:30 in the morning Saturday, guys shooting baskets, people pass out in the grass. We get out, and we have to go across the basketball court to the tennis court. And this was 1991. And they go, hey, Richard. Hey, King Richard. I'm going, ooh, what is this? Okay. And they go, hey, VW, Venus Williams. Hey, Meek. Because Serena's middle name was Serena Jamaica Williams. The New York Times was there earlier. They did a little piece on them. So these were like celebrity little girls, and they haven't done jack. They haven't done anything. So this is what's crazy. We go into the court, and I had a box of Wilson balls shipped there. He goes, Rick, we don't use new balls. I want old balls. I want their butt digging, scraping. I want them getting low. I got it. It was a little different. So now we go into the court, chipped up, holes in the net, and Richard had a cart, same cart you saw in the, maybe not the same cart, but a shopping cart. It was on the net post. It took him 20 minutes, listen to this, to get the cart out. He had chains wrapped around it. He goes, Rick, I have to pin it down. It won't be here the next day. So we get on the court. Now, remember, my blueprint for greatness was better than anybody in the world. I had Jennifer Capriati, won the national 18s as a 12-year-old. That was in 1998. And that record still stands today. The best junior player ever. So my blueprint for greatness was like no other. So I'm on the courts now with VW and Serena, arms and legs and beads flying off their head. And I'm going, what is going on here? It wasn't anything at all. At all. I see that all the time. They were, you know, Venus was kind of tall. She was like 5'9" already. She was 10. Serena was all over the map. She loves it when I say that. So I didn't see anything at all, but I think it's for anybody, any parent, coach, or anybody, you don't judge a book by the cover. The cover could be amazing, the book bad. You know, the cover amazing, the book bad. So after an hour into just doing drills, I said, let's compete. Let's have Serena, you come with me. We'll play against VW because Venus was a lot better. The whole landscape changed. Freaked me out. Freaked me out. They started popping the popcorn, extra butter. The feet were like all over the place. I'm going, whoa. The preparation got better on their strokes. I'm going, whoa. But here's what freaked me out. There was a rage. There was something inside these two little girls I never saw in my life. Okay? Their nose was that far off the ground to get to a ball, even if they couldn't get it. And so when I said game on, it just, the whole thing changed. And that shows me one thing. You're going to be bulletproof. You love pressure. You're all about the competition, you know. And I could see that. Then I started projecting. You know, Richard was kind of big, and the wife was over there. 6 feet, 160. This is the coach of me. 5'10", $145. I started projecting, and the way they moved, and they were so quick. But it was what I saw on the inside. There was a rage. I go to Richard. This is in the movie. I go, hey, come here. I'm going to tell you something right now. You got the next female Michael Jordan on your hand. He put his arm around me. He goes, no, brother, man. I got the next two. Crazy. So I'm almost done here.
Yeah,
so
then
VW goes, Daddy, can I go to the bathroom? Hugging, kissing, just like you saw in the movie. This should have been in the movie. She walks out the gate, 5 feet on her hands, then goes into backward cartwheels for 5 feet. I'm going, whoa. Besides an Olympic sprinter, this is Venus, just a freaky athlete, okay? And Richard they hit the genetic jackpot with both of them. And so now I'm thinking different. I'm going, not only, in my mind, at that time, and this is on video and in print, can these two little girls, because I could see it in Serena. Serena had all the time in the world. She was like a little pit bull, but she wasn't there mentally. Could they be number one in the world? They would change the landscape of women's tennis. Big, strong, fast, athletic. Because remember, in the early 90s, if you were big and strong, you weren't nimble. They changed the whole, now everybody's kind of like that in all sports. It just like, it blew me away what I saw, because it was all from the inside. But I knew I'd have to make a big financial risk, and I knew I would have to be all in, but it was what I saw on the inside. So 4 months later, we do the deal, and then, as they say, the rest is history. I could have been wrong. They could have got hurt, but I knew this was bigger than anything. And like I said, the best vacation I ever took was Compton, California.
Well, you're 100% right. And sometimes it takes that act of kindness to believe in someone, right, that is against all odds. And I wanted to ask you, so you touched on a couple of different things, and what you do differently than 99.9% of the coaches out there is you have to see potential at such a young age, and your students go through so many changes. So you talked about the genetic piece, and I played semi-pro basketball, and then I coached my kids basketball for a little bit until I started getting the phone calls of the dad, oh yeah, I played college basketball, why isn't my kid starting? Well, he's not any good.
I get that every day. Listen, I still get that. I'm bulletproof by now.
And so it's just such an amazing thing that you're able to do, because say you're an NBA coach, you're coaching grown men, they're developed mentally, physically. It's easy to predict or to coach based on their current situation. But picking an 8-year-old that's going to grow, that's going to develop mentally, do they have the work ethic? How can you have a work ethic at 8? Like, how do you do that?
First off, listen. You know what's going on. This is what I do. If I can back the truck up again, at 10 years old, I said Capriati would be one in the world. Even though she made a left turn, she did come all the way back. Number one. I said Sharapova at 11. She was in a bubble. She'll be number one. She was. Venus and Serena. I said the same thing. Kenin at 8 years old, the scariest little creature I ever taught, until Vlada, this little girl I have now. She'll win a Grand Slam by 21. You got to be able to project where they're going to be physically. Hopefully they get that mental part. Their brain doesn't reason at a young age. And the way I build a game, and put it together to take advantage of their assets, maybe hide their liabilities. But the best compliment, I've been doing this for so long, was from Venus and Serena at the after party, after the red carpet. They go, Rick, we were literally brainwashed. Be number one. And that positive environment that I try to create, I don't say you could have got it or your son could have got it or this 12-year-old. They were 12, and I'm talking about Hingis, Navratilova. I'm talking about people that are already at the mountaintop. This was what was going into their mind the whole time. You got to have the thoroughbred to win the Derby. I get that. You can't win it with a donkey. Right. It'd be a good donkey, but then you're going to win the whole thing. So, but that's kind of what I do. I see it. It's a little easier with the girls because it's not quite as physical. When I had Roddick at 12, he was number one. Listen to this story. He was number one in the United States at 12. You ready for this? He lost to Drew Brees. Drew Brees, the quarterback of the state. And he dropped Roddick. I think Roddick was a little younger. But the point is, he grew to 6'2", a $180. His serve became nuclear and forehand. I knew it was always going to be good. So it's harder with the guys because it takes longer. But this is what I do. I look at the genetics first, because if you already got some of that in your pocket, family has a lot to do with this, the environment. Venus and Serena, trust me, they were already rough and tough and brutal, at 9 and 10 years old. That's a whole different starting point than if someone's kind of a marshmallow and I got to make them, you can still do that because you don't judge kids. You don't judge it. It's a long-term journey. And plus, I have the passion. And until I see and get exactly what I want, I just keep going like a woodpecker. I'll go through the front door, the side door, the chimney. And when they feel that, you can get people to move mountains.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a couple of things in there, and you mentioned the genetic piece. So again, I played basketball, and whenever someone got cut from a team, they would say, oh, well, Michael Jordan got cut from his freshman year. Well, yeah, Michael Jordan also had a 48-inch vertical, so like your kid's not going to be Michael Jordan. So when do you tell a parent no, or your kid is not going to be the next Venus or Serena Williams because they come from a lot of money? It's not cheap to train with you. When do you tell them, like, hey, this, they may be good, but they're not on the path that you think they're going to be, and they may not get there?
Yeah. Well, you could imagine, since hundreds of millions of people have seen, especially King Richard, but even before that, everybody says they have the next Serena. Right. Everybody. Yeah. Okay? And if they saw that tape of Serena at 10, you might think it too. Mm-hmm. I didn't judge it on the outside. So I never tell them no. I always take a look. The game plan, let's try to go to college, the best college, get the best education, and go there free. Mm-hmm. There's nothing matter of that as a developmental tool. But to sit there and say bang, for me to go bang and go right to that, like, oh, you can do that, I have to see so many things already in there. You know what I mean?
Right. So
but I never tell them, no, you can't. Mm-hmm. But then again, when you tell people, well, we got a lot of work to do or whatever, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
You can't mail it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and there's too many mitigating factors. The work ethic, they're going to change. They get a driver's license, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. There's so many things that come along. And I've been wrong a few times, but I've been right a lot more. Yeah. Because you don't know about the future. Mm-hmm. But I never tell them, no, I just say, be the best you can be. This is a long-term process. It's not where you start. It's where you finish. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Right. And I could rattle off right now 100 people who are number one in the United States of America at 12, 14, 16. You'll go, Rick, I never heard of them. But listen, they were the flavor of the month. They were the talk of the cocktail. I tell you, the number one junior in the world. That means you're kind of there. You know what I mean? Just like if you're an All-American quarterback in football and first-round draft choice, you don't know how that's really going to play out. You can project. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you always got to keep getting better. So it's a tricky thing, but I always tell people it's not how good you are now. This is junior development. And any parent watching this should understand now is important, but tomorrow's more important. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the best advice. It's junior development, not junior final destination. No matter if it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, it's that. These things change so much. Yeah. I know people at 12 years old would beat people 6-0, 6-0. That's kind of a beat down. And that person that got beat 0-0 is already top 30 in the world now, and the other one's 700. Right. And they're 21 years old. Yeah. You see? Yeah. And I got so many of those stories, but as you know, especially in today's society, I want it now.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. And what you said is really good. And of course, you never want to tell a kid no, but then you also have parents that have the means, right, to do it. And if you think about our audience, it's a mix of mostly entrepreneurs, but there's a very strong parallel between business and sports. That's why I tell my kids, everything you're learning in hockey, whether you make the NHL or not, it's going to make you great in business and in life. And so one of the things we talk about as coaching and advising entrepreneurs is everyone starts excited. You have the dream, you have the vision, and then you spend 80% or more of life building your business in what we call the struggle zone. So when you're working with these young athletes, right, they get, I'm here at Rick Macci's Tennis Center, Venus was here, Serena was here, and then reality sets in, it's a lot of hard work. How do you coach them through that? Is it any pressure, or like how do you keep them motivated when they want to quit?
I really never have anybody want to quit. You know, I think if anybody gets burned out, it's more the parents. They have, because let's face it, it's your kid.
Yeah.
No, and it's like that's a mini me. That's you out there playing. Every parent. I got 3 daughters. You know, I know the drill. So, you know, and you just got to educate them. And I work with the parents as much as I do the kids. It's a medley. It's a smorgasbord of things of like, because I certify coaches too, and they're blown away of how I'm dealing with the parents. And listen, I've dealt with the craziest fathers from outer space,
Right.
Richard Williams, Stefano Capriati, Jim Pierce, Yuri Sharapova. I mean, you got to understand, it's like, I know kind of how to deal with the parents. They're going to want to be involved. And you just got to tell them this is such a journey. And, Venus and Serena never had any ranking because they didn't play any junior tournaments. Is that the blueprint? There's many ways, as you know, to get success, whether it be business, whether it be, any type of sport. There's no one way, but there's always a better way. And what I love about tennis is, tennis, because it's individual, a lot of problem solving. You got 20 seconds to flip it in your mind that it happened 20 years ago, and you got to remember to forget. And that's what I'd like everybody to understand. If you can't let things go, you can never go forward. And a lot of people get stuck, especially in business. You gotta, and I'm pretty much bulletproof by now. Nothing really bothers me, But that's what I like about tennis, because you gotta figure it out on your own. That's why a lot of people, they play better in doubles, because they got a therapist on the court. They miss a shot. Hey, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. Yeah. It's like they're right back on track. Right. Where people let problems stick to them like Velcro, and that's true in business. And you got to understand, it's all perspective, it's all mindset. When you play someone, you're playing a ball. It's hard you get the scouting report, but you're playing a ball. Right. It's about you. Right. And even in business, it's about you. You're going to fail. Understand that. You're going to have problems a lot. If you understand that, if it's like that, okay, you probably have the ability to do something else. Because that's probably too easy. If you're just going like that, it should go up and down a little bit. And when you know that's going to happen, okay, you're better prepared to deal with it.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, and you're playing off the House of Bricks language, so I love it. You mentioned blueprints, okay? And people ask me, I've started 7 businesses, all different businesses, but there is a blueprint for success. You've identified it in tennis. I've identified it in business. And what I do is look for patterns and to have the ability to recognize patterns. Have you seen patterns and similarities in these athletes? Do you have like certain things that you look for, these 5 or 7 things to create that blueprint?
Absolutely. I think number one, you got to have structure, and you have to have a routine, and then you'll become a machine.
Okay, there we go.
I'm just telling you.
We're wrapping here.
Yeah, you gotta be locked in. If not, you're locked out. The best. Okay, well, first off, the positive attitude. The most positive creatures that ever walked the face of the earth, okay, they're the most successful. You're not there's too many negative things that are going to set you back. So what I try to do is get everybody look at the game through a different set of eyes. You control the situation. Don't let it control you. Tennis is a game of inches, like the game of life, from one ear to another. Because the kids are aware of what they eat, but they're not aware of what they put into their brain. And that's what they get from Rick Macci. And so this is what I try to do. And people in business, because you can get sidetracked easily. Right. You got to keep motivating yourself, whether you go on YouTube or listen to motivational speakers or whatever you want to do, and you should write it down. Your toughest match is always right in the mirror. Don't blame other people. You can just lose focus on everything. And it's really perspective and mindset. It's like that in tennis and in the game of life. They're almost like similar, Yeah. And all these people that come back to me, like Christian Ruud, Casper, his son's like top 10 in the world. I taught Christian, okay? And it's like winners find a way, losers make excuse. They come back. They don't tell me about the forehand or backhand or serve. I taught them the hard work, the discipline, the mindset. It's all these life skills, and they pass that down to their kids. And to me, that's the best feeling in the world, because when they start saying those things or passing it down, okay, you're not just making a difference in someone's life. You're kind of changing the world in a certain way.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you, I heard on one of your other podcasts, you said, show me your network and I'll show you your net worth. And we just launched a community for the House of Bricks where a lot of people don't know this, and athletes are high performers just like business people. There's a silent struggle that entrepreneurs go through, and it's depression. 75-80% of entrepreneurs face that depression, and of course we're all too prideful to admit it. We just call, hey, we got to work harder. How important is it to surround yourself with the right people, being in a community? And again, it's not sitting around, I'm not a feelings guy, kumbaya, how do you feel, but there is that self-awareness that you have to have. Like, how important is it to be around the right people?
No, first off, being around the right people is a game changer. You know what I'm saying? Because the best way to get smarter is to be around smarter people.
Right.
And that's number one. And everybody's kind of pushing in the same direction. You don't want people to pull you down. I mean, you can have a mix of people, okay, but at the end of the day, to have that community of success, and it will inspire you, and it'll get you through the tough times, and you'll get rid of what maybe is bothering you, or it could open up another door, another business, another opportunity you never knew existed. But we all, especially me, I'm very structured, very disciplined, many opportunities that I could do besides being on a tennis court, and I do a little bit with some books and stuff. But this is what I like to do, and it's my passion. But I think when you're around that network of successful people, you'll inspire without even realizing it. It just lifts you up to want to do more, okay, instead of bring you down.
Yeah, and the way I try to live my life is really having, three dimensions to the relationship. So you have someone that's mentoring you, right? Being able to receive. There's always someone that knows something that you don't know. So have an advisor, a coach, a mentor. Then you have peer-to-peer relationships where you're both kind of climbing the mountain together on the same level, whatever it is you're trying to do. And this is where a lot of people stop. And what they miss out on is they disqualify themselves from mentoring someone else because of self-limiting beliefs. So I don't care if you work at the gas station, there's probably someone that doesn't have a job you could teach how to get a job. And so as these athletes are coming up, do you have, is there any mentoring that goes on, like from the athletes that have been training with you for a while and the new ones coming in?
Yeah, some of them. I mean, because everybody's kind of busy, but I think it's very important to everybody give back, and appreciate what you have and not what you don't have. Like even Richard Williams, he came here a month ago, talked to all the kids, went back down memory lane, okay? And that was huge to the kids, you know what I mean? And to the parents and stuff like that. But yeah, they do that. But when people are on the tour, they don't have as much time.
Sure.
But even the older kids, they help out the younger kids here. Because one of the things that's important to me, and it's kind of the way I'm wired, okay, very down to earth, very much one of the guys, you know what I mean, even with everything that I've accomplished, and having that just gratitude and appreciation, and instead of thank God it's Friday, you want to thank God it's every day, and this has kind of always been my baseline, even with the 300 national champions or 7-time coach of the year, all this other stuff. I'm just trying to get better, and I think if I can put that into the kids, it keeps you grounded, and then they'll help others, whether it be their own brothers or sisters. And this is the feedback I get, because when you're a teacher, a coach, a role model, a father figure, even though you're not their father, but then you got to have pride, in yourself as a coach, instead of just, okay, I do my job. No, I've never been like that, and I think that's important for everybody to understand. This is work for me. I did it all on my own. My dad died when I was like 10 years old, and here I am, still grinding and trying to get better, and either in or you're out. That would be my message to everybody. If you're in, go for it, but the best of the best have the most positive attitude.
No, that's great. And we're almost wrapping up here. A couple more questions.
So, I can do some rap if you want. I'm sure David Meltzer told you.
Wrapping up, so he's already been rapping the whole time. We're in the house. We were talking about this a little bit before we came on the camera, whereas you didn't get a lot of private lessons going up. You didn't get any, but you fell in love with the game. So today's athlete, young athlete, they have all the private trainers, all the nutrition, all the skills. But I've noticed this with other sports. I'm sure it's the same in tennis. They sit on social media and they just see highlights. And they think about the highlights and then they're training, but do they even understand the game? So, like, how do you balance the skills training that you're doing, like getting a basket of balls and cranking out 100 serves is different than being in a game when you get 2 serves or a match, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance, and I know the Williams sisters didn't play any matches, so I knew that was coming next, but like, how often should they play versus train? Like, what is the balance?
Yeah, well, first off, it's not one size fits all.
Okay.
Venus and Serena were just brutal competitors. There's a piece of chicken here, there'd be a fight for it. I mean, it was crazy. So I didn't worry about them. Some kids need to compete more than others. And you got to learn how to win, and you got to learn how to lose. I would never, I could have said, hey, listen, this is the blueprint from Rick Macci. No more junior tennis. This is what you do with me. I'm not that type of guy because I'm all for whatever that person needs. You need to compete. You need to win. You need to lose. I want them to play as much as they can. But remember, in practice, and this is huge, and this is what I do, biomechanically, we're the #1 teaching methodology in the world. My partner, Dr. Brian Gordon, we're way ahead of the curve with biomechanics and the optimal way to hit strokes and stuff like that. I break things down microscopically, can correct things in like the blink of an eye, put Humpty Dumpty together, and that's where you have this banner. You experiment. And this is what people don't understand. They turn on their TV set and they see this. And they don't understand what the heck happened in the back room. They just see that. Or they see in business someone there, they don't realize all this insanity to get there.
Sure.
And that, especially with the Williamses, they work harder than anybody. They're not just big, strong, fast, quick, brutal, and would cut your throat. They work crazy. But you know what? Every night after practice, Rick, thank you very much. Every night, and gave me a hug. Sometimes Serena's fist pump was a little harder than I wanted, and they brought their books to the court every day. If it rained, Richard would say, get your butt up in Rick's office and study.
Right.
What a world-class dad. So my point is, it's all about repetitions, like the best shooters, you got to miss the most to make the most. You got to fail the most to have the most success. The more you are not afraid of losing, the more you're going to win. Because you'll handle pressure. No one's going undefeated. Come on. So this is what I try to stress, and I try to teach courage probably more than anything. And what most people will do is like, don't do that, don't do that. They put a kids in a box. It might be a good coach or whatever, because they want now, and I've always been about the future. I know I can project, she's going to be 5'10", 140, 2 more inches, she'll make that shot. Positive air, that's a good shot, and I instill courage because I think fear is the #1 motivator in the world, and it also keeps people back, not only in tennis but in business because they're afraid. It's okay to fail. You can go undefeated if you stay in bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you'd be undefeated, okay, or if you don't try.
Right.
I want kids, I say this all the time, the more you come to the net, the more you miss volleys, the more you miss overhead, you're learning. And that's a tough sell.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell because then when they get older, everybody does the same thing. I got to be more aggressive. I got to take it early. I got to have more courage. No, you can't buy it over the internet. I teach courage and pull the trigger. Now, if the person's like out of control, then I got to put the governor on a little bit. But no, you got to compete all the time. Ranking, sure, you want some self-celebration, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And so when they're with me, everybody understands that. It's more about the process, because if you're doing the right things, the winning and losing will take care of itself.
I just want everyone to know I did not pay him for this commercial, but now it's perfect time to talk about the House of Bricks mentality, which is we live life brick by brick. It's the compound effect. Like, success is not an epiphany. Right. It's the combination of doing the small things every day over time to make a big impact. And it sounds like that is what you've done forever. You've done it better than anyone else, and doing it in what I said it earlier, probably one of the most difficult things you're doing, because you are predicting the future with so many variables, the genetics, the mindset, the discipline, the accountability, because kids adults change,
Yeah.
kids change even more. So being
Absolutely.
able to keep that consistent path, balancing the pressure, and I go through this as a dad. I want my kids to perform at the highest level, but they have to want it. And it's a challenge because just like tennis, hockey is very expensive. You're traveling, you're spending. So like my kid doesn't show up ready to go. I'm like, hey, I just spent $1,000 on a hotel. You're not ready to go. So balancing like how much pressure you can put on your own kids. So as we wrap up here today, Rick, I want to thank you for your time, your humility, just being here and continuing to invest in the generations to come. Congratulations on all your accomplishments. But I'm going to say this here. I still think there is a number one tennis player in the world under your leadership that will. You want to tell us a little bit about her just as we wrap up?
Yeah, if I could even back the truck up a little
Sure.
bit. You know, one thing I didn't mention, what I try to do, and I think any coach or even father, any parent, the number one thing you should always teach your kids, besides sportsmanship, is to be the best competitor they can be. You know what I mean? So many times you might have a better forehand, backhand serve, and you're going, how did I lose to that guy 6'2", you know? Right. And it's because he runs, he fights, he's a dog, he sweats, he's just all about the battle, you know? So I think that's the number one thing that if anybody's listening to me, I just get them to compete. And if I can get them there every point, like Roddick was brutal, okay? That was his calling card. And it's hard to do because we let everything control us, you know what I mean? We let everything control us. But no, I have actually two. I have a number one 12-year-old in Europe, Sofia Belinsky, who I think can be number one in the world someday. But I have an 8-year-old from Ukraine, okay, Vlada Harancher, and she's the scariest little creature I've ever taught. And I represent her. I'm her agent also. And I kind of had to help the family like I did the Williamses. I've been asked 10,000 times to do that. I've never done it. But this little girl, she already has over 200,000 followers on Instagram. She's 8 years old. But she is a beast. The discipline, the speed, the quickness, the genetics. I got to put Humpty Dumpty together technically.
Right.
But she has everything there. And especially at this stage of my life, to make a difference in her life and make her dream come true. If I can't make this little girl number one in the world, I feel I did a bad job. That's how much ability she has. And I don't say that lightly, you know, because I've had other people that became really, really good. But this is special, and to make her dream come true is going to be the best feeling in the world.
Well, your passion is definitely inspiring, and I love just the fact that you get up every day, you bring your best, and it's not just for you, it's for the people you're leading, the coaching. So we've talked about the importance of your network, your community, the people you're around, the compound effect of doing the small things every day. So Rick, I want to thank you for being a guest on the House of Bricks and allowing me to be a guest in your house. Wish you the best, and I know the best is yet to come. I want to be the first one to say that, even though you've coached some great athletes, incredible. If it was just one, it would have been amazing, but it's been however many you've coached. How many, you know, number one in the world, just unlimited, right?
It's a lot. There's more in the oven.
Yep.
Some are bacon. I'm going to make it extra crispy, but I love the House of Bricks because that's my motto. Yeah. I do things brick by brick. I take the stairs, not the escalator. This is how I put this thing together. And so then when it comes out, the foundation is rock solid.
We're all building a strong foundation in business, life, and sports. So Rick, thank you for being a guest on the House of Bricks.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, you got it. Thank you.